Welcome to the Purpose-Focused Advisor, a podcast for financial planners, advisors, and RIAs looking to get the most out of yourself and your business. Join Rob Brown as he walks you through a journey that will allow you to take action in your business and your life so you can be the best that you can possibly be. Now here's your host, Rob.
Welcome back. Time again for the Purpose-Focused Advisor. Rob Brown here as your host, along with Derek Notman. Derek is a financial advisor, a CFP. He has an RIA, but he also has developed a new tool and has a new company called Couplr.AI, which will dig into what they do and how that will help you in your practice. But Derek has a great background. He considers himself to be a global adventurer. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that. And he's also a dad and thinks that's very important to be a great dad. And so maybe we'll have some time to talk about that too. So Derek, with that sort of scattered introduction, welcome to the podcast.
Rob, thank you very much. Great to be here. Excited to have a fun conversation with you today.
So to get started, tell me a little bit about how you got into the financial advice business to begin with.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. I mean, I'm 19 years in now. It's interesting. So from a very early age, I was always fascinated with this thing we call money, making money, using money, investing money, saving money, all those things. But I also, through my college years and then right after college, actually even before I graduated, I really learned how I loved helping people. My first job out of college was at an at-risk treatment center for youth. And the hours were really bad. The pay was even worse, but I learned a lot about how I loved helping people. And so after doing that for a couple of years, and my wife and we got married, we ended up moving across the country. I just asked the question, where can I go help people, but also work with money? And that's how I got into this industry. This was like really a perfect mix of the two.
Yeah, awesome. Because a lot of people on the outside of the industry think, well, financial advisors generally get into this business because they love the stock market, they love investing. But my belief is that more advisors get into this because they want to help, and helping with planning, helping with investments is just the tool that they use to serve other people.
I totally agree. Yep. There are some that would prefer just to, do the Excel sheets and the research, of course. But I would argue that most advisors really just love helping people make better decisions, realize their hopes, dreams, and goals. Yeah.
So I'll make a note, Derek, to the production team that we got a little pause there, but I lost your sound for a second. I think it's on my end. Just go ahead and...
Okay, no problem.
Well, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, try again.
Hello, hello? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's really faint.
That's weird. Yeah. It shows all the settings show it's working really well on my side.
Let me go to old standby.
Right on. Cool.
Derek, go ahead and say something.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing.
Okay, I got you now.
Awesome.
There you go. Weird. So, if you don't mind, let's just go ahead and start from the top. I think that might be the best way to make sure the conversation flows. Okay, on 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Purpose Focused Advisor. Rob Brown, your host here, along with Derek Notman. Derek is a financial planner. He has an RIA, but and what we're going to talk most about today is his new venture, Couplr.AI, a great tool for helping advisors find good clients. And we're going to spend some time on that. Derek is also a world traveler, an adventurer, and a proud dad. Derek, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it, buddy. Great to be with you. Looking forward to a fun conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Derek, so give me a couple of minutes. What got you into the business? Why did you decide to help clients with their financial information?
Well, I've been doing this for about 19 years. I joke I'm a recovering financial advisor at this point since I don't take on new clients, but I still have my own RIA. I'm a CFP and so forth. From a very early age, I was always fascinated with this thing we call money, making it, spending it, saving it, investing it, and so forth. And towards the end of my college, career, if you will, I ended up getting a job at a at-risk treatment center for at-risk youth, residential treatment center. And I learned that I really enjoyed helping people. The money was bad, the hours were really bad, but it was really rewarding helping people, these kids break through really tough situations. And so after a couple of years of doing that, my wife and I, we moved across the country just to try something new. And that's where I asked the question, where can I, work with money, but also help people? And that's what brought me into this industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. Advisors come into this business from all different walks of life, but I think one of the commonalities, in addition to maybe an attraction to money in the financial markets and investing, is wanting to help people, there's a real purpose behind serving others, and financial planning is a great way to do that.
It really is. It's very fulfilling. And yeah, there's some great rewards that come with it, but I would argue most advisors have a genuine desire to help people just live better lives through the things that we do through financial planning, investing, and all of those stuff, that comes with it.
And so it seems to me, though, as you have built your business over the last 19 years, but now decided not to take on new financial planning clients and kind of stretch yourself and try something new, that you've found a kind of a new purpose behind how you can serve others by serving financial advisors through Couplr.AI. So give us a couple of minutes on Couplr and what your goal is there.
Yeah, I had this entrepreneurial itch and I just had to go scratch it. So this is where a couple of years ago, I veered off and started Couplr. At the end of the day, consumers want help with their money. But the way that they were getting it was, in my opinion, always a bit broken or disjointed. I mean, who likes getting cold called at home while you're trying to eat dinner? And what advisor really likes cold calling? Like, it just was a bad experience on both sides. And, through my experience as an advisor, it was very clear that money is really personal. It's really private. And if a consumer's going to open up to me as an advisor, they have to have rapport with me. They have to build trust with me. They have to like me. And those things, those core foundational pieces, are not a byproduct of the zip code you live in or how much net worth you have. There's a lot more to the human, element, if you will, than just, where I live. And so I started looking around and I'm like, wow, is there a better way where we can connect people looking for help with their money with the right advisor for them to serve them? And that's why we created Couplr. And you can almost, tongue in cheek, think about it as like the eHarmony for insurance and wealth management. And we really are connecting on a deeper level to create an amazing experience where consumers get what they want, but advisors now also have warm inbound leads. Because as an advisor, did I cold call? Yes, I did it for years. Did I door knock? Did I drive everywhere? Of course I did. Didn't like it. It was very time consuming and it's also not scalable. But I had to do it to be successful. So if we can flip the script on that and start to drive warm inbound leads to advisors, now I can spend more time being the advisor that I actually really wanted to be in the first place.
Yeah. And you made a couple of great points there. And I want to start with the last one you made. It's as an advisor, building a practice, really wanting to be out there serving people. And if you really want to grow that practice and make it more profitable, you've got to be working on the things that you are best at. You have to be working in your zones of genius. And for most advisors, that is spending time talking to clients or spending time talking to future clients who you know something about and you believe that you can help them, which doesn't happen when you're eating pizza and cold calling at 8:00 at
I've
night.
been there.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Let me be the best advisor I can be. And I need a solution then to help me bring in those warm clients that I want to talk to and that want to talk to me.
Right.
It's a two-way relationship, right? It should never be one-sided.
Sure, absolutely. And certainly Couplr isn't the only way to do that, although it may be a great way to do that. But I just want to really hit on that point because there's too often as advisors hit a level of success, they will believe that they can repeat that success, get to that next level by doing the same thing that they did to get to the current level. And almost always that involves giving something up that you did that may have helped you because somebody else on your team or an outside resource like Couplr can take over and do that for you so you can spend your time where you know you matter most.
That's right. Where can you, it's either, well, it's asking the question who instead of how. So who could be a person, it could be a technology solution, something that you can exponentially scale that gives you more time to do what you're best at.
Right. And so thinking about that, it's also making sure that you're talking to the right people. And so you one of the things you've talked about is that Couplr helps kind of ferret out who that person really is, because every potential $1 million, $2 million, $5 million client isn't a good fit for every advisor. So,
that's right.
So a system, and Couplr is obviously one of those. You can do it on your own through as an advisor through a series of interviews and things, is extremely important. So kind of in your experience as you I guess maybe thinking about it from the way that you developed Couplr and used it as a tool to get to know more about the potential clients that are in the system. What things did you focus on? So what are you making sure that you identify so that the first half of that eHarmony like match is good information?
Yeah, this goes back to a saying I heard years ago, and I can't cite the source of who quoted it, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so when a consumer is looking for an advisor, are they going to care about your brand and your credentials and your experience? Sure. But those are not the only things they're thinking about. They're also thinking about, can I like this person? Will I be able to open up and trust this person and share my financial skeletons with them? And human beings are wired to connect on things like shared commonalities, shared experiences, shared preferences, outside of like what credentials an advisor might have or specialties and so forth. So what we were very thoughtful about at Couplr is let's go upstream a little bit and let's create, tongue in cheek again, the best first date experience possible for a consumer to get matched with the right advisor for them. And if we can do that quickly and on the right points of connection, then all of a sudden now the consumer's like, okay, I like Rob. Rob and I have similar backgrounds. We have similar interests. I feel like Rob understands me as a human. So now the next question in my mind, the conversation that the consumer's having is, can Bob help me? Rob, sorry, can Rob help me? Does he have the credentials? Does he have the experience? Does he have all the things that really matter? But that's really the second question that's asked before, hey, do I like this person? And, will I even open up to them? Because Rob, you could have all the skills in the world, all of the specialties, it doesn't matter. If a consumer doesn't like you, they won't trust you, which means they're not going to open up entirely to you. So now as the advisor, we aren't given all the information we need to be the best advisor possible. And then so that's just bad for everybody. So we were just very thoughtful about that. Like let's set up a great first, connection experience where trust and rapport can naturally happen very quickly. And then the rest is going to take care of itself.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I could almost close my eyes and picture myself doing some consultative selling coaching to the financial advisors I've worked with in the past, because what you're basically saying is that Couplr helps that part of the consultative process that identifies what that real connection is between the advisor and the potential client, which if you do that first makes the rest of the engagement so much smoother, because you're connected at the core around something that is much more understandable than, hey, my portfolios have greater alpha than your portfolios, or I've
Right.
I use the best financial planning software, or those other things that too often advisors give too much credence to. They don't give credence to the fact that they are managing relationships if they're doing it right.
That's it. It's a relationship business. So let's create the best relationships. And at Couplr, we empower the advisor to say, like, here's the technology I use. Here are my specialties. Here are my credentials, my experience. All of that's important. And we want the advisor to highlight that to the consumer as well. But the consumer also wants to be like, oh, cool. This advisor loves dogs. I love dogs. This advisor loves to travel. This advisor's a dad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden we have all of these connection points when we have that first conversation. Hey, I see you like dogs. What kind of dogs do you like? Right? Or whatever. That's maybe a little bit oversimplified, but you understand. So now we have these commonalities we can have a meaningful conversation around, versus, hey, I have my CFP and I use this financial planning software and it's too clinical, right? It doesn't feel good. We need to have more bedside manner on the relationship side.
Yeah. At that point where it becomes really clinical, I think of that as advisors have, in some cases, have become the human robo advisor. They've taken all of the
Yes.
all of the human dynamic and relationship out of their process, and they've gone straight to get information, put it in the software, spit out a plan, sign the paperwork, and that can work. But for most real dynamic practices where you really want to get to know your clients, where when you have that review meeting and the last time you talked, the dog was sick, to extend your analogy, you go, how does your dog make out? Is he doing okay? And you naturally want to do that deep in a client relationship. Why not go ahead and start out that way?
Exactly. That's exactly right. You get it. So we're doing that at scale at Couplr. We're really excited about it. Getting some decent traction so far. Startup life is not easy life.
Right.
I've got gray hair for a reason, but it's been a lot of fun, and we're making some good inroads.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So I'm thinking about an advisor who is listening to this saying, this has been great info. We've talked about, so far you and I have kind of talked about thinking about that, the dynamic of that relationship, strengthening it to make it, better early on to help an advisor grow business. We've talked about Couplr, obviously, a potential solution, not the only solution, but a potential solution for bridging that gap. When you kind of step back and you look at the financial advice space out there and financial advisors in particular, what other challenges do you see them facing for growing their business, and for building businesses that they can really feel like, hey, I'm very purpose focused about what I'm doing?
It's really easy to wear all of the hats as a solo advisor in the early years. Everything from the cold calling to the service paperwork, to the meetings, to the prep, to the filing, to the website SEO and blog writing and social media posts. The list is endless, and it can really take up all of your time very quickly. So early on, be thoughtful about the things that they all need to get done, and they are important tasks, but find the right people or technology to do them for you so you can spend more time doing revenue producing activities. And that's meeting with clients or prospective clients. That's what you should be spending the bulk of your time doing. And so finding those solutions, they're out there. And sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of technology out there. And I always try to go as simple as possible. What are the core things that I need to be successful? And what's the best tool for me to make that happen? And how do my clients feel about it? Do they enjoy the tech experience if I have a new tech that I onboard, or do they get along well with my support staff? Things of that nature. Those are pulses that you want to take every once in a while just to make sure that you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And you've got me thinking that it's probably not a good idea to reevaluate your financial planning software every year.
No.
It's so
well, and like it. So we've all looked at the Kitsis, fintech map, which is an amazing resource, but it's also an overwhelming resource. And I've changed financial planning software once in maybe the last 10 years. And one was, so there are some internal reasons like cost, is it doing what I want it to do, things of that nature. But also, how do your clients like it? Poll them, ask them, get the feedback. Just because one client says they don't like it or they do like it doesn't mean you should change everything overnight. Be a little bit more thoughtful. Yeah. It's very easy to be like, oh, that's a flashy new toy. I'm going to go buy that tech today because it's going to solve all my problems. 6 months later, you have more problems and you're out all the money. So you got to slow down a little bit and be more thoughtful about what you're trying to accomplish and what will best help you accomplish it.
Yeah, I love that. And you made the point that I was trying to drive home. There's both the tech chase that sometimes happens, and sometimes it's just filling a gap because you feel like you have time. So I should be evaluating all these tools that are popping up in the ads that I get or the cold calls that I get from vendors. So that's one thing that happens. But I think the other thing that advisors would be well served to do more, and this is a great action item for this podcast, is ask your clients about the way they perceive or use what it is you're doing with them. A simple example is I will talk to advisors all the time that are really proud of the newsletter that they're sending out every week from cookie cutter web newsletter writer service ABC. And they'll say, my clients love this. And I send it out every week and it's become so easy. And I said, well, when is the last time your clients actually told you that they love it or made a comment and go, well, the open rates are really high. Well, open rates are really high when you're sending emails to people who are clients, or even on your list. I mean, it's kind of easy to get. Are they actually clicking on it and reading it, and is it valuable? And have you asked them? And you can ask them about the newsletter, the financial planning software presentation that you lay out, any of the tools that are client facing.
That's exactly right. Get the feedback from them and ask them. You could just add it as a question in your annual review with them. Hey, how do you like this tech? Am we missing anything? Is there anything you wish it could do? Do you like that newsletter? Do you even read it? Just kind of just joke about it almost and just get that feedback. And we've done that And we do have a newsletter. When I know it's really working is when consumers actually respond to it. My clients respond and say, "Oh, thanks for sharing. Really cool to hear this." Or in our next meeting, "Hey, tell me more about that trip you took." Because we try to personalize them. It's not just business, right? It's not just marketing. It's here's what's going on in our personal lives as well, just to make that human connection more meaningful. So when they bring that up in a meeting, you know that it's valuable. But it's feedback loop, Rob. It's a feedback loop, and you can't assume anything.
Yeah. And it all goes back to affirming or reaffirming what we were talking about earlier, that personal connection where you're getting to know something about them and they're getting to know something about you. So you wrote about the fact that you took a trip to Ireland and you had a blast, and they're like, "I've been thinking about going there for years," and they reach out. Those are important things. I want to shift gears because the one of the reasons I do this podcast is I love to understand purpose. And sometimes I work with advisors like you who have built really good businesses, but they have an entrepreneurial itch, and they want to be able to start a new business that is maybe in many cases, or in some cases, totally unrelated to what you currently do. But to run two businesses, to serve two masters, isn't always easy. And you've got to be able to separate that. So that's, again, a kind of another reason to think about where you're spending your time and what really is most important. How did you make that decision? Because it's not easy after you've been taking on clients for 15 years or 20 years to say, no more new clients. I'm working with the people that I want to work with, but I have to do this other thing. This is more important to me.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to fully articulate this, Rob. That there is it's almost like the entrepreneurial gene. There is a feeling, an itch that you can never quite actually scratch, where you feel driven to fulfill a bigger purpose. And my experience as an advisor showed me that, man, we can help a lot more people if this solution existed. And when you realize it doesn't exist, then you kind of come to this crossroad like, well, do I stay in comfort mode? Do I keep doing what I'm doing and helping my clients, which is great. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Or do I take a chance and see if I can scale something here? And I'm just wired that way. Like, it almost wasn't even a question for me of if I should. It was more of when should I, and how do I make it happen, and who do I get involved with to make it happen.
So what were the symptoms for you that you knew that this was the right when? Because it seems to me that you must have had a pretty buckled up business with not just the limited number of clients that you were going to be working with, but also the systems that you had in place to support that. So how did you kind of clean things up so when could be when?
Infrastructure. I needed systems, people, and tech to do all the things that I didn't want to do or that we needed to smooth out and automate almost. And, that took years. So I took, for example, my practice, we can't say 99% virtual 10 years ago, way before the pandemic and all of that. And I was doing virtual meetings and everything, screen sharing, you name it. And that showed me like, well, wow, I just got some time back in my life. What do I want to do at that time? And I did spend more time with my family and my son. That was very important. But then also started thinking about, wow, I now have an opportunity to pursue some of these entrepreneurial ideas that I've been kicking around for a while. But it was because I put infrastructure in place. I had the right service team in place. I had the right technology in place, the right expectations with my clients in place, which allowed me to go do the things that I wanted to do moving forward. It's not that I don't want to be an advisor, but human beings, I don't know. I mean, we're always, I guess, kind of either you're growing or you're dying. And I'm of the growth mode. So I always want to be learning and challenging myself and doing something new. And the stars aligned where I had an opportunity to make it happen. But it was partially by design too, right? Like I had to have the right infrastructure to make it possible.
Yeah, that's great. And what dawns on me as you describe that, getting those systems in place, doing that automation, you need to do that whether you're going to go out and start a new venture or you're just going to take your practice to a new level of success. You've got to constantly
100%, you're right.
be refining and defining what it is you do, who does it on your team, what you can automate, what you can get rid of. And I think that clear thinking that I see you demonstrating, because it's easy to be the what's that the wacky professor with all those crazy ideas circulating around in your brain, and nothing ever gets done or finished, and which means your practice isn't as good as it could be. You're not taking care of your clients the way you really want to. Your team isn't as strong as it could be. Your business isn't as good as it could be because you're off thinking about crazy, wacky professor ideas.
You're right. I think one thing that really helped for me was my wife and son and I created a family vision board, which we now update on a regular basis, about lifestyle things that we wanted, relationships that we wanted, tangible things that we wanted in life. And as you go through that exercise and continue to do that exercise on an ongoing basis, you start to realize, all right, here's the things I need to do now to go achieve these things. And I just felt like technology and starting a new company was that path. But you're exactly right. If you're an advisor that just wants to take it to the next level, you still have to do the same things, right? To give yourself more time and capability to grow, you have to do all of these things, and you have to be thoughtful about it.
Right.
It takes a little bit of time.
And if you do that, that gives you a period of clear thought where then you can be very intentional about, I thought I wanted to start this new business, but really what I want to do is get to a new level in my existing business, or now I do have time because that idea wasn't just a crazy harebrained idea. It's something valuable that I can bring to the world. And I love the way that you talked about doing that with your wife and your son and having a vision board. In my book, Truest Fan, one of the techniques that I encourage is the idea of having an executive meeting with your spouse on a regular basis where you talk every week, perhaps, about what is most important for you and your family, and how are you doing towards those things that you said are important to you as a family and can tie back into your business. And then also regularly sit down with your entire family and have conversations about where you're going. And when you do that, it makes life more fun. You go to vacations to the place that everybody wants to go, not just the place that Dad wants to go. And I think that's really an important way to be a leader in your family.
It is. It totally is, because they all blend together at the end of the day. So bring them in, and make it part of that journey for sure. There's no question about it.
So we're getting close to the end of the podcast, and I have two more kind of short segments that I like to do as part of this conversation. One is you talk about being a proud dad, and you've done something about that to help others be good dads. Just give me a 60 seconds on that.
Being a dad is really hard. Being an entrepreneur is really hard. How do you balance being good at both? And that was the question I started asking myself more and more. My father basically left my life as my son was born, and I didn't have a resource. And sure, there's a lot of books on how to be a dad, but the books don't know half of it. And I wanted a resource that could help me be a better dad and entrepreneur, and couldn't really find what I was looking for. So I put the entrepreneur hat back on and created it in a new group that we call the Rebel Dads, which just stands for Responsible Entrepreneur Balanced Leader. And it's all about helping dads be the best father and entrepreneur possible, and how to balance all of it together. We had our first gathering together on Necker Island with Sir Richard Branson, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I just really admire that. And we could probably do a whole other podcast on that, but I wanted to mention that because I know as as a dad and now as a grandfather, how important it is to not just mail it in when it comes to the responsibilities that you have as a dad. It's to actually do it and do it the best you possibly can, because there's no better way to perpetuate those values and those things that you really care about for generations to come.
You're right. You're right. And it's hard. It's really hard. So having a group of like-minded people that can help you makes a huge difference.
I told you before we started up the podcast that I just spent the last 4 days in prison. I wasn't arrested. I'm involved in a Christian prison ministry. And one of the things that I always take away from those weekends is the men in that prison are just like you and me. They're smart, they're articulate, they have good ideas, they care about other people, but in many cases they didn't have a dad, or their dads were helping perpetuate generations of bad living, and that rubs off on the kids, and that's how they ended up in prison. And it's preventable if we can get to more people and help them be maybe not rebel dads, because all their dads weren't entrepreneurs, but rebel-like dads.
You're right, though. You're right. I mean, what is it now? I think the statistic is roughly a little over 18 million kids in the USA today don't have a dad at home.
Yeah.
Just think about if we can nudge that the right direction a little bit, what that impact could be. Right. We might put you out of a job as far as ministry at a prison, but that would probably
be okay. The food sucks.
That would be all right.
The food sucks. So I don't need to go back for the food. Yeah. And it starts by being a good dad yourself, a great dad yourself, and then saying, okay, how can I demonstrate being a great dad to other people, being a good example for others, and then maybe looking for opportunities to help the dads who need some help with that. So last thing, I want you to just tell me how an advisor who's listening to this, who has an interest in Couplr.AI, would get started in working with you.
So at this point, we are an enterprise white label technology solution. In other words, as a solo shop advisor, you can't just go buy us from your website. You can't just sign up. However, if you have a designation in good standing with the American College of Financial Services, you actually have access to the basic Couplr solution for free right now. You just have to log into your American College Knowledge Hub, and there's a call to action there to get signed up. So that would be a good place to check it out. Otherwise, you can go to our website, Couplr.AI. You can put that in the show notes, Rob, and you can sign up for a newsletter there. Or just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm really active there. I think, Rob, that's how you and I met anyways, is LinkedIn, which is great. So follow me there, send me a DM. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to folks. And funny story about LinkedIn, I was at Costco this weekend, and an advisor who I've never, actually not an advisor, a tech partner, who I've never talked to, never met, came up to me and recognized me. Really, it was really kind of funny.
Yeah.
Totally new experience for me.
Are you sure he wasn't just tracking you down? He was like, anyway.
I hope not.
Anyway, that was the suspicious part of me. Well, Derek, this has been a great conversation. It's been good to get to know you better, what you're passionate about. You bring a lot of expertise to this whole idea of, really helping advisors think about developing deeper, stronger relationships and doing it in a way that really helps them build a more sustainable business. And I think that is that's critical.
It is. I mean, one of our taglines in Couplr is cultivating relationships into revenue. Right. That's what happens. It's possible. So it's you're right. Advisors, if you focus on that top of funnel relationship bit, the rest kind of tends to take care of itself.
Awesome. So let's close it there. So Derek, thank you. To our audience, thank you for listening in this week. We'll see you next week. And of course, remember, we're always rooting for your success. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Purpose Focused Advisor. If you want to learn more, head over to our website, truestfancoaching.com. There you'll learn all about becoming a purpose-focused advisor. You'll also find today's show notes and links to the other gifts and resources we talked about during the episode. Again, thanks for listening, and remember, we're rooting for your success.